morning, all. Hold on a second, we got my notes. I just have a quick few things to say. Let me get my list out. Where's Vita at?
Yep.
What's the over/under until I cry?
2.5.
2.5 minutes? Yeah, all right. First, I want to thank the Board of Directors and Kevin for this heartwarming honor. The board has been incredibly supportive to me in my years as president and CEO. But with one footnote, which Martin will read. In 2000, upon the retirement of Paul Hayes, I, as our CEO, was the internal favorite to succeed her, but was not selected. Unfortunately, their pick was countered by bad care, and I was chosen on the second ballot. The board asked me to grow the agency. We went from $5 million operating budget to $20 million, from $5 million in assets to over $50 million, and from 200 beds to over 1,200 units of affordable housing with supportive services. Thanks to the board and Kevin for not making me wait 5 years for this great honor. That's a baseball reference. Kevin, who succeeded me, was the overwhelming choice to become president and CEO. As his 20-plus year at Bowie, he has shown growth, commitment, and the passion needed to lead Bowie Centers. His leadership during COVID was exceptional. I'd also like to introduce a few colleagues. Linda McKinnon, if you'll wave. Linda is a retired president and CEO of Central Florida Behavioral Network, who not only ran the largest managing entity in the state, but while a Department of Children and Family employee, coordinated the closing of G. Forest Wood State Hospital. Also here today is Jim Miller, longtime Operation PAR employee, was a great IT vice president, and recently became the president and CEO of Operation PAR. Jim, thanks for your leadership with that and with SAS. Today, I become only the second living staff member to be honored as having a Bowie Dedication naming after the Paul Hayes Center. I served as Paul's CEO for many years until her retirement. Paula called me this week from her home in Maine and offered her congratulations. I like to remember the previous Bowie staff who have had name decorations over the years and who have died while in the service to the agency. Here at the Koenig Center, the first staff member honored was Esther E.T. Thorpe. The E.T. past tense swimming pool was named in her memory, as was the Esther Thorpe Staff Choice Employee of the Year. Also, I'd like to recognize Nancy Adamo Building, also known as number 6. Nancy led our QI and medical records for years. At the Hayes Center, Doug Urban Server Room. Big Daddy led our IT department for many years. Andy Shaver, Supportive Employment Office. Andy led our supportive program for 25 years. The Carolyn Herring Staff Lounge. Carolyn was a special person as she served as a residential manager. The Genora's Winners Courtyard. Genora's overcame her physical disabilities to become a passionate and caring case manager. All of them had a profound effect on Bowie services. Finally, the Jerry Howe Apartments in Clearwater. Jerry was a dear friend for many years. In the early 1890s, he was the program director of the North County Clubhouse and responsible for the acquisition of the apartments bearing his name and the Wild Acres residence. I also need to mention the board of directors who, through their long-term service, had properties named for them. But first, I would like to memorialize Bessie Bowie, who founded the purchase of the first halfway house and has the Bessie Bowie apartments named for her also. When approached in the late 1960s, Mrs. Bowie told the organizer she would leave the agency money when she died. She was in her 80s at that time, and Bessie lived to be 108. Mary Koenig was one of 2 long-term leaders that could convince Bessie that the need was great now, and who knows if she had waited, would we even be here today. Mary had a demanding presence on the board of the agency she loved so much. She also founded the Bowley Angels. Ruth Mosier was another driving force that established the agency, and the Mosier apartments next door are a tribute to her. The Edna Stevens residence is located next to the Mosier apartment, as she was Ruth's best friend and served many years as the board chair. Bob Pitt's apartment. Bob, a former client, became a staunch advocate for mental health services, not just in Pinellas County, but statewide until his death. Dave Miller Apartments, a former chair. Dave passed away this year. Dave commented when approving the agency's first computer, "You'll get one and many will follow." Little did he know. Still living and serving on the board, the Celia Hall residence. The Martin Lott resident. Martin was my biggest supporter on the board. He has served for over 40 years and was chairperson on several occasions. The Leroy Williams house across the street, the Marcus Mittemeyer residence, the Paul Masawish Place apartments, the Sally Pointer apartments. Here at the Caning Center, the Magnolia Garden was dedicated in the memory of former board member and her husband, Marge and Larry Fast. Rutland Bussey Apartments. Rutland was the board chair for many of my years as president, and was a strong supporter of the development of many of our housing programs. Upon her retirement, I was asked what were my two proudest achievements. There was actually four. The development of 1,200 affordable housing options in Bowlesboro. Two, the acquisition and renovations to Caning Center was a transformational acquisition for the agency, providing an enticing environment for our services. When we first looked at it in 1989, it was for sale for $2.1 million. 2 years later, we bought it for $745,000 and did about $250,000 in renovations. The acquisition and renovations of the Hay Center for the first time in 30 years. Bowley had administrative and services building and stood out as a beacon of hope for many. And fourth, the Jingle Bell Run was established in 1982 and became a St. Petersburg holiday favorite, as thousands have participated in its festive holiday favorite, participated in the nighttime run. The JBR has provided over $1 million in funding for the agency. I'm not crying, I'm just blowing my nose. I could not have achieved these and many more for the agency without the support of many. My wonderful wife of 36 years,
I think it's 37, just saying.
yeah. It only feels like 36. Marcy has been by my side for most of my 40 years at Bowley. She had the most difficult job as an employee married to the boss. But we met here, a Bowley romance. And as I told the board when I interviewed for the CEO job, that I would not take the job if it meant Marcy had to leave the agency. I would also like to acknowledge and thank my daughter Erin, who came in town for the event. My son Zach could not be here. I still have a vision of Marcy sitting on the ground, sanding the dining room table bases, as many staff dug in to get the campus ready for the opening dedication, while 6 months pregnant with Zach. Jerry Flanagan has now surpassed me as the longest serving Bowley employee at 44 years. She's been a client advocate for years, and for the first 30 plus years responsible for just about every grant and contract achieved by the agency. She had an office next to mine for 20 plus years and never complained as I knocked on the wall when needing her help. Jack Humber was when I was selected CEO, they questioned how the agency would continue housing development, as my responsibilities, I'm losing my sight here, would limit my time there. I quickly recruited Jack from Abilities, as we were both graduates of HUD's year-long course in housing development. Jack, along with Jerry, had kept the development churning since, and currently with Whispering Pines Apartments opening this month and Founders Point now under construction. It's great sadness that I also mention Mary Nornlager, whose tragic death in December, which was hard to understand and unfathomable for many of us. Miriam served as my CEO for 16 years and was a great partner. She was also next door to me, and she never claimed as I bellowed for her assistance. I'd also like to mention my long-term CFO, Director of Accounting, who we lost to cancer a few years ago. Nancy was a tireless worker whose only fault was not delegating enough to her staff. She was proud of her many years of clean audits. Mike Feeder has, in my opinion, the hardest job in the agency. While maintaining hundreds of units, endless phone calls, he's the go-to guy for a litany of agency needs, the JBR, and all special events. I would also like to thank some long-term support services guys under Mike, Ray, Jeff, Ken, Preston, and Freddie. Catherine Warros was an integral part of my team, leading the Bowley Angels and all Bowley communities, and so much more. Daphne Williams, VP of Employment and Youth Services, a leader in her field and a great Bowley employee. Helen Howe, a longtime friend, and staff member that oversees homeless family housing. She is arguably the hardest working staff in the agency. There are so many to thank, but these folks need mentioning as staff that have made a difference to me. John Greenwood, Angie Levock, Tracy Brown, Sharon Poole, John German, Laura Shaw, Miss Wanda Lee. Waiting till you get a taste of her macaroni and cheese today. Ashley Wasilewski, who hasn't been here long but has brought a shining light to the Hayes Center. Adam Morris, Kathy Cunningham, retired. Janet Pinelli, where is Janet? Janet showed up, she's retired also. Valerie Davis Jones, and Pat Jones. Now I'm really lost. Oh, here we go. I'm almost done, folks. Additionally, I'd like to thank some additional long-term staff for their dedication to Bowley Centers. Brenda Peters, Luz Nolasco Warfield, Tom Ekman, Christine McCormick, Sharon Poole, Lisa Carcefola, Madeline Walters, Kelvin Stewart, Dawn Griffiths, and Stephanie German. In closing, I'd like to introduce you to a former staff member. I think he worked here 3 different times. Ken Heller. Ken is the only person known to me to sleep at night in the manor, as at the time he was a contract worker painting the mansion the night before the opening dedication in 1991. He spent the night in the conference room sleeping on the love seat. He is allegedly the only one who has seen the manor ghost, which has since been confirmed recently by Abby Collins, who has heard his steps in the evening while working late.
Wow.
Oh yes, what is a manor without a ghost? Again, thanks to all for making the MacMath Manor a lasting tribute to me and my family. Enjoy the lunch. Thank you very much.